Welcome back again. You're still watching us here on the Daily Debate, and just joining in our studio to shed further light on the topic that we're talking in today is Dr. Mohamed Fathy Salem, who's Professor of Organic Agriculture. Thank you for coming in, Doctor.
Yes,
in addition, of course, to our guest who's been joining in earlier, Engineer Dr. General Mostafa Hadhoud, rather, economic expert. Thank you again, gentlemen. Now, Dr. Mohamed, we were talking about the inauguration that took place earlier at Fayoum Governorate for the livestock production, and as a professor of organic agriculture, which I would love if you would explain to us exactly what it is, how do you view the development in this field in Egypt in particular for the last couple of years?
We have to say that the current project that was opened by President Sisi today is one of outstanding projects in animal production project that we called it mega project in animal production sector, and we have to thank all the military service or the military leaders who are working in this project, as it is we could say this an integrated animal production project that implemented first in Fayoum and Beni Suef, and we have 4 mega stations in Nubaria in Bahira Governorate. This project, I think, can fulfill the gap between our consumption of red meat and
proteins,
the proteins to fill the gap, because you have to know this. We are importing more than 10 million tons every year for red meat, this frozen or live. So we have, I think, this project that can work together with the Minister of Agriculture, can fill this gap during the next 2 or 3 years more. We have also we have a collaboration with those people there that we are working innovation program in production of organic fodder through increasing the Egyptian clover more than 300 tons per fattan. So I think this can
add as well.
Yes.
Dr. Mohamed, maybe also earlier a bit we were talking with General Dr. Engineer Mostafa on the fact that not only are we trying to reduce this gap and reduce the prices, but we're also ensuring high quality standards. And we have seen during today's inauguration the scientific centers and the technical perspective of how technology is being integrated to ensure the safety of these cows as well as the standard of quality. Speaking from an organic perspective, how is that being very useful?
From an organic perspective, we have to mention this. This is our first and leading project in Egypt to cultivate green fodder with organic fertilizers, and this can multiply the yield of this green fodder to fill the gap. You have to know that the main core of our feed ingredient is soybean and the yellow corn. We import them from United States, from Southern America, from Brazil, Argentina. This technology that we are working with the military service here to fill the gap, this green fodder is enriched with high protein, enriched with highly value amino acids like methionine and threonine and tryptophan. This can enrich the meat quality and the sanitation measure and the hygiene measure of this good quality of meat. I mean, this also with a cheap price. This is a good innovative step in agriculture sector, and we are working further with the mainly 5 governorates across Egypt. We start first in Fayoum, and go further for Beni Suef, and then go further for Beni Suef, go further for Bahira and Asyut. I think this five governorates have more than 65% of the animal power in Egypt. So you have to know this. We have more nowadays. We have more than 18 million cow and the buffalo. This is our wealth, our animal wealth. We are going forward to 3-fold increase this animal wealth in 3 years. I think if we fulfill the gap, this animal fodder can be cheap, can be sustainable, can be in organic ways. We can increase our head cow and the buffalo.
Definitely. Dr. Mostafa, not only is ensuring or securing proteins for a healthy diet and right for every Egyptian citizen one of the goals and targets of this agenda, but you also spoke earlier about the fact that it helps to reduce unemployment rate, because such inauguration of projects, and especially in such governorates, gives a chance for youth and their skills to sort of enhance their potentials. Let's talk more about the kind of potentials and skills that will be available for youth at Al Fayoum Governorate after this project's inauguration.
Yes, this project and also our President Sisi speak today about the greenhouses.
Yes.
We started a very big project in our country to make 100,000 greenhouses. We started in Mohamed station
Yes.
near to Mediterranean Sea, and also in Bilbis. And the third, he spoke today about there is a good area, 65,000 Fiddan, north of Minya and south of Bani Suef. This area is very in the top of height, about 100 meters from the surface of sea level. So our country, and with the help of armed forces, they started to make greenhouse complexes in this area. Every one greenhouse, there is about from 25 to 30 employees, direct employees.
Right.
So by this way, if we make 100,000 greenhouses, multiplied by 30, it is about 3 million employees,
That's great.
different employees. So I would like to speak about not only directly armed forces. There is a special association for production of new projects. This association is headed by armed people, but all employees, more than 90% to 95%, are civilian. You saw in this complex in Fayoum, you saw the people working in the laboratory, they all civilian people. So they make projects in order to enhance the economic of our country, to narrow the gap between the demand and supply, and to make new chances for new workers from different specialization. This is a very good, important project. And then, as I said before, if this project will be enter the Egyptian stock exchange, it will be a good chance that this money can be revalued again and circulated again for another projects.
Yes.
And this is very important issues for the people. And these greenhouses projects is the first time to be in our country. And now the factories in Ministry of Military Production and the factories of Arab Organization Industries, they started to produce these greenhouses locally in our country with the help of Spain and Holland technicians.
Yes.
So
yes, it seems to be that we have a very outstanding, well-planned strategy when it comes to fulfilling the 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda. And from here, I want to ask you, Dr. Mohamed, how far are we from achieving the goals of the Sustainable Development 2030 Agenda?
This sustainable agenda can cover 8 sectors in agriculture sector. I mean, for animal production, we have this mega project, as Professor Mostafa Hadhoud mentioned. Now, this greenhouse process, more than 100,000 greenhouse across Egypt, and this also we have in direct ways, as he mentioned, according to fulfill the employment of more than 3 million job for civilian. Also for when you go and you look out this agenda, it have to find jobs for more than 8 million civilian young youths who are graduated from agriculture sector, from high schools, graduate from many universities here. I mean, if you go for integrated project, so you have in agriculture and there's a processing after agriculture. For example, when you go for cucumber from this greenhouse, if we are working to support this cucumber, so we have a food chain process. This can create more than, if you go for a cucumber, for example, we have this. We study this to our student, that every greenhouse can create more than 35 job for civilian. More again, if you go for standards, that's what I mean by the sustainable agenda. We are working mainly with more than 35% in organic agriculture to fulfill the European standards, to fulfill the Japan standards, Chinese standards, United States standards. So I think this sustainable agenda, what you mean 2030, we are working in different sectors.
So mind you, Doctor, when you speak of standards, are they going to be taking into consideration the climate change and pollution standards as well that are going to be omitted out of the greenhouses, because you do know that they emit gases. So they do
we have two sectors there in climate change. We are focusing in climate change mitigation measures and the climate change adaptation measures. When you go for organic agriculture, so we are covering these two fields. I mean, when you go for organic agriculture, so the plant cannot be suffering again from this cold stress that we are nowadays in Egypt suffering from open field and tomato, for example, in many or Beni Suef. In agriculture sector also, if you go for organic, this is one of the European standards who are working with this nowadays. If we have a healthy soil that are enriched with organic fertilizers and enriched with organic pesticides, so we cannot, suffer from this climate change and the adverse effect of climate change.
So basically, adding up on that, Dr. Mostafa, is the fact that not only are you having a sustainable development agenda that fulfills Egypt, but you're also willing to expand and go global with increasing your exports, as you've earlier said, through this. So we have a very vivid vision from an economic perspective for Egypt coming up. Would you like to add on the remarks?
Yes,
of Dr.
I would
Mohamed?
like to inform our people that Egypt suffer from the lack of water. Egypt is not a raining country. For example, I would like to compare between Egypt and China. Egypt, we have 55.5 billion cubic meter per year. If we compare China, they have 60,000, not only 55, 60,000.
But we seem to be drowning at a very small percentage rate, don't we, every winter?
So the problem here in our country is that if we need to make
water.
Short of water. If we need to make animal production, integrated animal production, from where we can take the food. We need to be organic food, so we need water to make for the land. For this, and also the second problem that we increase every year with 2.5 million inhabitants. So this is a very big problems and very struggles for that reason.
So these challenges, how are they going to be taken into consideration?
For this challenge, we work very quickly. For that reason, every year and every time we have.
Before we expand by 2.5 million,
yes, we have.
Expand our production to sort of
the
fill
rate,
this gap.
the rate of yield and the rate of production of new factories and new projects must be more than our increase of people. So this is the reason very good, very struggle. For example, in European countries, the inhabitants people, the number of inhabitants is decreased, not increased every year. So if they will make new projects, I can feel with these projects.
Yes.
But this is a very, for that reason, everyone in Egypt must work hardly and must work with at least 6-7 hours per day, because we have a big struggle in our country and we would like to overcome these struggles.
Definitely.
This is very important.
Yes, it is. Dr. Mohamed, from your perspective, how important has technology been playing a role when it comes to not just standard and quality, but even in terms of planning and integrating? Because on another perspective, the field of technology and science, I think, is an important factor around the world when it comes to the field of agriculture. Here in Egypt, the change of culture and the adaptation of this new sort of techniques and strategies, how far has it been implemented?
We are working nowadays with vertical increase in agriculture sector.
What does that mean?
For example, if for one,
I mean, I know what vertical traditionally means, but what does it mean in
the production must increase by one faddan, for example, instead to be 20 to be 25.
All right, so that's what vertical means.
Because limited area.
I mean, we have two strategies: horizontal increase increase, that we have to cultivate more lands, and still, according to this, Mr. Mostafa mentioned now that we need a surplus of water, irrigated water. The other way, this will be significant to Egypt to work in a vertical increase. It means, for example, for one fattan, instead of for example, 2 tons per wheat, to be 3 tons per wheat.
Right.
This we call that vertical increase. Per wheat, for example. For wheat, we have, according to our current yield, we say that 16 ardab. This 16 ardab equal to 3 tons. If we are working efficiently with wheat, for example, for Euro corn, for soybean, and we work with this strategic way of thinking to increase this vertical increase. So, for example, for 3 tons per fattan, if we could achieve 4 tons per fattan, I think we can
be double.
Yes,
Right.
we are working this.
So is this a technology
Technology of agriculture.
integration? Technology of agriculture.
Technology of agriculture and technology of seeds.
Of seeds. Yeah.
And the way of organic fertilizer
Yes.
instead of synthetic fertilizers.
Yes.
And the way of irrigation. Not to be.
We work with drip irrigation.
Drip irrigation
instead of this flooding irrigation
flooding
to save the water.
All right.
For example, we have still now a shortage of water according to this Nahda Dam in Ethiopia. We have to fill this gap according to our expertise. We have to think twice about what means by water footprint. Water footprint, for example, it will be astonishing for you. If we could working with 1 cup of water or 1 liter of milk, how many liters of water you need. So you have to know this. 1 liter of milk need 208 liters of water.
For working.
So if we can minimize this, so I think we will be working in an efficient way in agriculture.
That's very interesting. Well, earlier, both of you gentlemen mentioned something very interesting about students. And from here, I have to ask you both the same question about how are professors like yourselves keeping up or keeping their students up with the change and the merging of various schools and the establishment of new, ideologies or schools maybe, as they say, that would fit the world of globalization today, and how that has been changing rapidly, especially, mind you, as food is a crisis worldwide, not just in Egypt.
To be for the world, not only for Egypt.
So how are you coping up with that, Dr. Mostafa?
No, the increasing of population, it will make a very big problem in the future, because there is a limited area of land which can be cultivated. There is a limited water requirements. So like in our country, we must make desalination of seawater. You see Saudi Arabia and Bahrain and Emirates.
Gulf countries, all Gulf countries.
Huh?
All Gulf countries, all Gulf countries.
Yes. So in our country we started to make desalination of water. Why? Now our requirement, our coming water is 55, and the underground water is about 7, so it's about 63. Nowadays our requirement is about 85 billion meter cube. From where we can make this gap, we make reuse of waste agricultural water. This is international. To make mixing between reused treated waste agricultural water with the river water. But in the future, the big problem will be in Africa. Why? The only place in the world which now we are in Africa now, 1.2 million inhabitants. In 2050 will be 2.4 million inhabitants.
Interesting. That's
1.2 million people.
Speaking about increase of people, I feel like the Earth is going to explode people out of it, basically, by 2050. Maybe we need to find another planet, Doctor. We have just under 2 minutes. Dr. Mohamed, how do you cope with your students and, in terms of what's happening today in the changes of agriculture?
There is two definitions nowadays working worldwide, called precision agriculture. I mean, I am working in organic agriculture during the last 20 years.
Interesting.
And this is from Switzerland to Germany to Egypt. But nowadays there is a new trend in agriculture called precision agriculture. This how to manage water, how to manage climate change, adverse effects, how to work efficiently with food hygiene, how to go further with what I mentioned nowadays, what I mentioned 5 minutes ago about how we can increase our vertical increase in food surplus. I mean, to cover the gap in Egypt.
It seems, well, that's right. That makes more common sense now. While we're increasing, we're trying to adopt. All of us are trying to. Well, unfortunately, our time is up. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining in. I would like to thank you once again, General Dr. Engineer Mostafa Hadhoud, economic expert, for coming in. Thank you very much, gentlemen. And also Dr. Mohamed Fathy, Salem, Professor of Organic Agriculture. Thank you very much. Thank you, gentlemen. That brings us to the end of our episode of the Daily Debate. The top stories are coming up next. Thank you for watching.